The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 908. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. You can now purchase The Tao of Self-Confidence, a guide to moving beyond trauma and awakening the leader within on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, Walmart, Indigo, and other major book retailers. Get your copy today. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to The Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a phenomenal woman on the show today. She is an inclusive leadership trainer. I'm super excited to have her on today to share her story about confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Wendy Kim. Hey, Wendy, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Sheena. Yes, I am an inclusive leadership trainer. I also am a certified executive coach, and I am a Amazon bestselling author of the book Beyond Blending In. So I love just working with, especially Asian Pacific Islander leaders, women. I'm also queer bi, so queer leaders as well, to elevate our voices, especially in the workplace. And yeah, I'm really passionate about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Wendy, what's your cultural background?
I am Korean American.
Thanks for sharing that. And what'd be your favorite self-confidence quote?
I would say, rather than a quote, my mantra around self-confidence would be I belong. So I will give an example of that. I'm 47. Fortunately, I have the Asian genes and look a little younger than that. But I started surfing, fulfilling on my lifelong dream of surfing and during the pandemic. And I live in San Diego, when I would go out in the water, I wouldn't see anyone who looked like me. And so there was like this nagging in my brain that the voice in my head would say, you don't belong here. So the way that I would counter that is I would like actually say to myself verbally aloud, I belong. So that's whenever I'm feeling that like insecurity or when that voice comes up, that's something I say to myself.
I love that, especially just growing up being Asian in North America, especially at our time, like there was hardly any representation. And we always felt like we didn't belong in Canada or America because we look a certain way. And then even if we go back to our respective countries, we still don't really belong because now they see us differently. So it's like, where do we fit in? And I really love that you mentioned, like, first of all, yeah, you don't look 47, you look way younger. So, I think that's one of the benefits of being Asian. The term Asian don't raisin really comes to light with that. But I really love that you mentioned you just went for it. And especially at a time where women 40 and over have always been told that there's an expiry date, like there really isn't. So, and you're proof of that. Like you said, you're gonna go try surfing, you did it and you feel a lot better versus like regretting like, oh, I wish I did that. So I love that mantra that you have. It's very short but impactful, and it's just a great reminder for each and every one of us that we do belong. And Wendy, what is your definition of self-confidence?
To me, self-confidence is practicing something to the point where you feel comfortable doing it. I think a lot of times people will look at someone, for instance, when I started speaking, I would look at someone like Oprah or someone like that and go, wow, they're just such a great speaker. They must have been born with that confidence and that charisma. I'm not like that, so why even bother? Like that tape would play in my head. But over time, working on myself, working with clients, I've seen, no, it's just that Oprah, of course, Oprah's amazing. Don't get me wrong. And she has practiced speaking so much. she's done so many speeches, right? And so she is so comfortable and confident in her speaking. So as with any skill, whether it's speaking a new language, learning an instrument, you're at first it's going to be clunky and awkward, but the more you stick with it, then you develop that confidence.
I love that definition, and it's just a great reminder. I know, especially in our culture, the compare game is huge, right? You know, it stems from our upbringing. But yeah, if you want to do anything great at life, it takes a lot of practice. Like you mentioned, Oprah, she had her own TV show. You know, she goes out there and talks. So she practices all the time to the point where she's comfortable. Like even I remember starting my own podcast. I didn't know what I was doing. I would compare myself to like big name podcasters and I thought I sucked. And I realized, my chapter 1 isn't their chapter 20. And most people don't finish or don't go out there and do it because they're afraid of that, but people don't realize you have to embrace the suck. Like in the beginning, it's really gonna suck. You're gonna suck so bad that you question yourself, but you keep doing it anyway, right? Because the more you keep doing it, the better you get at it and you become a natural. Like people ask me, how did you become so great at it? I'm like, I've interviewed over 800 women. Like this didn't happen overnight. My first episode was probably terrible to like my episode now, right? So that progression, people can see that. And so we have to start somewhere. We have to learn to embrace the suck. And I really love your definition of self-confidence. And I think everyone would resonate with this, including myself, because I still go through that comparison syndrome. Still a lot of unlearning to do, of course. And Wendy, what was your life like before you discovered self-confidence?
I would say I grew, and especially coming from a minority background, and then in my case, also being queer by, there was always this sense of hiding, I would say, like trying to look like I had my trying to look like I had it all together, right? When inside I felt like I was a hot mess. And I think the only difference between that and now is I can embrace that about myself. I can embrace that I don't have it all together and that I'm human and I have frailty and I'm gonna make mistakes. And like even today, I was a little rushed coming to this podcast and my son is learning to drive, which is kind of scary for me. And so I found myself really feeling stressed and irritated. Especially, he hit this dip and our car almost went flying. And I was just like, "Be careful!" Like, and I was kind of, I was yelling at him. And then afterwards, I felt bad. Like I felt, oh, I should have been more patient with him, and he's just learning. How's he gonna learn from his mistakes? But I was able to just go, you know what? Like I'm human. I'm gonna make mistakes. I was stressed. I was scared. But I texted him and I said, I'm so sorry that I was freaking out. I'm gonna really work on that. And so I think the difference is before I would have just beat myself up, held it in, and then not allowed myself to apologize because then I'm admitting how bad I really am. And now I can just own that, yeah, I'm going to make my mistakes and have self-compassion, but also have more compassion on other people.
Thanks for sharing that. I think we all go through that, right? Like we beat ourselves up, we become our own worst enemy. We see the worst part of us and like judge ourselves, not realizing like that's all a part of us. And instead of being mean to ourselves, we just have to be a little bit more kind and that I believe everyone's a hot mess and there's nothing wrong with that, Like everyone's trying to figure things out. I mean, that's why reality TV shows are like so popular because everyone can relate to the hot mess that they go through, right? I mean, they can't relate to a picture perfect life because it's just unattainable. But when they can see the mess, the authenticity, they can really resonate with that and be like, oh, I'm not the only one who deals with that, right? Like there's other people who deal with that. And I wish, sometimes we can just we can share those things. I know it's scary, but it also helps people realize they're not alone in the journey. And, what was that point in your life when you realized, you were more than enough to go out there? You realized you belong In fact, you go beyond it, right? Beyond blending in. What was that point in your life that made you realize you were more than enough to do that?
Yeah, I would say probably so I wrote my book and I think I wrote it I obviously wrote it because I wanted to empower people. And there was a part of me that also felt like I still had to prove myself and have that credibility of being an author. So I self-published and it became like an Amazon bestseller and I was excited about that. But there was a woman who reached out to me on social media and she said, "Hey, Wendy, I needed to reach out to you because your book is the first book that told my story." And this woman was like in her mid 30s. And in that moment, for me, it was like, okay, it's not about the accolades or achievement. It's really about making a difference for people and empowering other people. And that's when it clicked for me that, okay, yeah, this is my this is really my purpose. This is what I'm meant to be doing.
I love that. And I think it's such a great reminder the importance of impact, positive impact. A lot of us, of course, when you're in business, you're thinking about revenue, profit margins, money, things like, and that's normal. Of course, we want to think about that. We also we get caught up to the point where it's like we forget why we do what we do. And so sometimes we have to realize when we focus on the impact, the creating that positive impact in our lives, the money comes in, right? Everything starts falling into place. And it's a great reminder for each and every one of us, even myself, right? Like I still, start overthinking and a million thoughts go through my head and I realize, wait, let's just stop. Let's focus on creating that impact and everything falls into place. And I know some people may or may not believe in it, and that's fine, right? Everyone has a different way of doing things, but of course we have to feel good in what we do. We have to love what we do. We have to have fun too, because if not, what's the point in doing it, right? Life is so short. We don't know what's going to happen, but at least we can realize that we are doing the things that we love. And I love that you're able to do that. And because of that, what's your life been like now?
I really resonate with what you said because especially coming from the Asian culture, a lot of us come from backgrounds of survival where it's not about fun and doing what you love, right? It was always about money. I mean, you need to make as much money as you can, and you like it's not who cares about if you enjoy it. If you're making money, that's all that matters. And I get it, right? Like coming from the backgrounds that we come from and the survival mentality. Now, of course, there are moments where survival kicks in, but to your point, I always go back to my why. Like, why am I doing this? Because I get to work with amazing Asian Pacific Islander women, LGBTQ leaders and see them grow in their confidence and see them grow in their leadership and see them make an impact in either their organization or in their business. So honestly, I just have so much joy and gratitude in my life. And I'll be real, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. Like you get it, Gina, like being an entrepreneur can be challenging because there's ups and downs but focusing on the change and influence that I get to affect is what gives me so much joy and yeah, I love my life.
Thanks for sharing that. And yes, being an entrepreneur is not easy. I definitely eat my feelings a lot. And so I think it's okay to say that.
Yes, food.
Yes, especially being Asian, food is our love language. So I'm really glad that you're able to, live the life that you want despite, like everything has hardships, right? I mean, nothing is like smooth sailing, right? And it's fine. But we have the tools and resources to get back up when times are tough. And, Wendy, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What'd be that one tip you'd give to her?
What comes to mind is the phrase or mantra, choose your heart. anything in life can be hard. Like it can be hard to create a business, it can be hard to go for the promotion, it can be hard to write a book. But if you don't do that, then there's this gnawing inside of you that a lot of people experience, right? Where it's like, oh, I really want to write a book, or I really want to advance in my career, or I really want to start a business there. And if you don't go for it, you live with that ache, that pain of not knowing. And that's hard. I've definitely been there prior to being where I am now and start and writing the book and having my business. So I would say anything in life is hard to some degree, right? So choose your hard and go for it. Also, you don't have to do it by yourself, right? You can work with other people. You can have mentors. You can have coaches. You can have peers holding you accountable and encouraging you. And so you don't have to do it by yourself. So find communities where you can be supported.
Thanks for sharing that great tip. And if our listeners want to get to know a little bit more about you and your work, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yes, so you could go to my LinkedIn, and then you can also find me on Instagram, Beyond Blending In. And yes, I would absolutely love to connect with you all.
Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Wendy, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Wendy's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I just want to thank Wendy again for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Wendy.
Thank you. It was great being here.
Not a problem. It was an honor having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. You can order your copy of Asian Women Who Boss Up book by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.